So, welcome to another episode of the 20-Minute Clinic. This is a really special one. I've been waiting for this one for a while, actually, and we've ummed and ahed how best to do it. But I really wanted to get Paul.
But I'm used to just chipping in and doing wires,
I know, co-hosting this podcast, and it's kind of embarrassingly dawned on us. We haven't actually given Paul airtime to be able to speak about his role with us. So I'm going to ask, and I'm going to spend some time today to speak with Paul and learn a little bit more about his role, how it supports us in primary care, and ask some of the more embarrassing questions, which I probably haven't had a chance to ask him.
Oh, you've been looking forward to this.
So, Paul Day, I've had the pleasure of working with you over the last few years, various roles, right back to the CCG when I was a plucky registrar.
You were. Always enthusiastic, though.
I don't know. It was, we'll leave that one there. But I've had the chance to work alongside you, and I've seen some of the great work you do. But as we know, things have changed. And I want to ask that really embarrassing question. Paul, what the hell do you do?
What do I do? What is communications in the NHS? What's communications in any job?
Go on,
That's a good question. Okay, so a bit of my background is, I went to uni, my degree's in communications, media, culture, that kind of thing. My main big first job was in Cumbria Police. I worked there for about 9 years, maybe.
Wow.
And so I was there a long time, learnt lots of different things. Within that, my roles varied between, I'd do website things, I'd do multimedia things, I'd do filming, because I have a strong interest in movies and things. So I kind of bring that with me. Into the world. And then I joined the clinical commissioning groups as it was. And I worked with Julie Clayton, Kieran Bradshaw, Christine Harrison.
Just shout out to Julie. She's fantastic.
Well, hopefully getting her on the podcast soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so she was my boss and the head of communications in the clinical commissioning group. So I worked there a long time. And then that obviously became the ICB, the Integrated Care Board, North Cumbria. So I worked with them for a year or two. And then eventually this opportunity came up to work in primary care locally again, which was fantastic. Some of the stuff I was kind of doing in the CCG. So I came back into the fold on the project that I'll tell you about today. So in a sense, what is communications? I haven't answered your question at all. I'm the worst guest ever. I've just gone off on a tangent. But communications is all kinds of different stuff that you wouldn't think of that's necessarily linked to the NHS, where it's things like websites, the videos you'll see, interviews, maybe getting press releases out, a wide range of things. Podcasts, when Amit says, I've got this idea of a podcast to put North Cumbria on the map. Okay, we can do that.
Don't drag me down.
Don't. We can do that. So lots of audio-visual, different things, design work, logo work, poster work. My set of skills is quite broad in comms world. Sometimes you'll have a bigger team and each person will have very specific skills. I tend to work jack of all trades in comms world.
I love the work you do, and I think you're doing a fantastic job, but I'm going to be devil's advocate because there'll probably be colleagues out there who still understanding a little bit more about how primary care works or even along the tooth and go, actually, Paul, why on earth do we need a comms team or a comms officer at a time when we just need more doctors and nurses?
Yeah, of course, I can understand that. And it's very much about getting the messages out that the doctors want to get out there. Yeah. So this primary care project is very much about recruiting doctors and getting those roles out there. So the website we've built for this particular project, it helps us advertise and say, well, you know doctors, a lot of them, they'll probably live down south and be like, oh, I love visiting the Lake District. I think I'll retire there. And the idea is to get them doctors to think, well, hang on, I could go there early, have 10 years doing some doctor work in Cumbria, and then our health system within Cumbria gets the benefit of this doctor coming up with their experience. So who's getting those messages out there? Who's advertising it?
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where I sit. I sit in the middle, or maybe the Munjaro thing that came out, and everyone's saying, well, what does this mean? Can I get this? Can I get that? Someone needs to get the message out to say, you're going to hear a lot of chatter, you're going to hear a lot of talk, but actually here's where that sits, and here's the criteria. Okay. You need that kind of in-between sometime. Or, again, you talking about your roles and highlighting, there's all these different roles in primary care. Come and join us. Part of the project, we actually went to schools and to say, did you know that NHS is more than doctors and nurses? It's also all these other roles. So it's very broad. That's sometimes the problem with it. And it flexes around what the need is at the time.
Fine.
Yeah.
But there's clearly a need then. You're right, actually, because there's no good. I mean, you try and get me there to try and do comms out there, or all my other GP colleagues. We'll make a hash of it, no doubt. So actually, no, there is something out there. I'd love to say that we have that time to be able to do something that we may have been able to do in a bygone era, which is outreach. health promotion, engaging with our communities and whatnot. So it's fantastic to know that there is a part of the team still doing some of that. I mean, you've mentioned the project.
Yeah.
It sounds very mystical.
Okay. It's not as mystical as it sounds.
Come on, just talk me through it.
So you've got the primary care networks across North Cumbria.
Yep, so the PCNs, yep.
PCNs. North Cumbria obviously being West, North and East Cumbria. This is the sort of thing that I try and unravel in my comms to say, why are we doing that? Why is this a thing? Well, the boundaries are this, and Cumbria boundaries are extra hilarious because the councils go one way and the NHS goes another way. So some of the videos I make are around that, explaining to the patient and the public, we keep recording it North Cumbria because this is how it's split. The project itself was the PCNs in North Cumbria coming together and saying, hey, let's work together for once and try and build something in the middle to help put North Cumbria on the map, to help with recruitment and maybe some of the back office things. Let's pilot some various health projects and see where it goes.
Yeah.
So for 2 years, Sam Gargett, who's the...
Oh, yeah, we love Sam.
Sam was the project manager of this project for a couple of years. I was the comms part of the project, and my bit of it sort of continued a bit longer, and the plan is to keep sort of a lot of that still going. Yeah. But we piloted all various things like staff introductions. The practices weren't having enough time to do properly, so we piloted health checks, various things. We went to agricultural shows. Lots of things where PCNs were working together to see what a difference it could make. And the part of it from my side was building this website, building a presence. When the CCGs became the ICB, obviously a lot of the focus then became Northeast North Cumbria. It became a wider footprint. You can tell I've been in the NHS a while when I start using words like NHS footprint and acronyms.
And to say that, I thought, God, I've got to think of another word.
It became a wider scope.
Yeah.
And we kind of maybe lost North Cumbria a little bit in the mix because we didn't have any primary care local channels. Yeah. So a big part for me on the communications part of this project was sort of putting North Cumbria back as a place, saying, here's the opportunities available. Look, we're very innovative. Yeah. Like, I know you've had all kinds of projects over the years that are innovative to bring in new medics and student doctors. And we've hopefully created this presence where we're now helping boost things like the new intake that we've just had at the University of Cumbria.
Oh, yeah.
With the Pears Medical School.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic.
So we're able to support that, help promote some of the work going on.
So, I mean, it's a huge remit. So what I'm hearing then is it's a place where this project is a way of trying to get PCNs in North Cumbria together, to work together in a way that allows us to have a common purpose. And that's kind of, some of that is community engagement, some of that is comms.
Yep.
That overall benefits all of us, ultimately, rather than individuals trying to do mini projects, having some success, but maybe not the huge outreach we were hoping for. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that's a fair summary. It's how much more can be achieved if they actually work together a bit more. The project, it was always going to be temporary, but it's actually created a bit of a base to work from, where at the moment they're currently looking to see how can we make this into more of an organization potentially, a collaborative federation going forward. Yeah. So whatever happens with that progression, the comms side of it, they've decided has been really useful to have that local voice. So that's still going to sort of continue.
Be part of it.
And be part of it to help promote the local things. So it's getting that voice out there. And one of the things that I often rant about is how noisy it is out there. Yeah. And how hard it is to get above the noise. So if you think about it, everyone's a content creator now, aren't they? Like, here's what I'm having for tea. Here's where I'm going on my holiday. Like, everyone's a content creator.
You need better algorithms, mate. Come on.
Well, that's my thing. Every day I'm trying to fight this algorithm and to get into people's feeds. And we've had some good success with it. To have 100 shares on something that's quite important for getting a message out in primary care. Like, be kind to the receptionists because they're under a lot of pressure.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
We've done campaigns about patient access. Like, did you know you can get the NHS app? You know, you're on Facebook looking at this. Why don't you get the app? Maybe that'll help you with repeat prescriptions. And these are the kind of messages that we're trying to get out there. But getting above that noise of everyone at festivals and on holiday and...
It's a hard sell
sometimes.
At a time when it's very, very busy. What would you say then, from a comms angle, in the last sort of year, would you say your greatest successes? I'm thinking of our listeners, and so I'm very keen to go highlight some of the benefits the team, the comms have had on patient care or primary care. What would you say your most success was?
Some of it, I would say, is the success around understanding a bit more around how... Because don't forget, for the patient, the NHS for a lot of patients is just this one big... shop.
Yeah.
The NHS, you go in there And actually, we know, because we're working amongst it, that it's lots of different parts, and it's a big machine. You know, you've got the trust over here, you've got the mental health sections over here, you've got the volunteers helping out over here, you've got primary care, you've got general practice. Or general practice has primary care, and then primary care now has the wider remit of pharmacy and ophthalmology. And
it's a bit of a beast, isn't it?
Yeah. Going back to your question, I think one of the biggest successes is try to explain why we do some of the things we do. So one of the recent projects we did was all about triage and explaining. We got doctors like yourself locally, some from West, some from East, some from North, so across the patch. But we got them talking about triage, and actually, you know, receptionists aren't being nosy. They're asking you these questions to get you on the right pathways, to get you to the right care. Because it might not be a doctor. GP might not be the best person to solve your problem.
We've got a massive team nowadays, haven't we? Absolutely.
Massive team. Some of them are specialists. Some of them might be better, you know, I've got a problem with my eye. Well, we give them to Ross Kelly. You've got a specialist team. And I think our big success has been trying to get that voice across.
That's fascinating, isn't it? Because a lot of the huge amount of back office functions that go on. And actually, from a patient's point of view, when they contact the system, they're just not familiar or don't understand. So when they put through a certain channel, why am I being put down this route and not the other route?
And, you know, we also
to know that.
We also put in there, if you have genuine complaints about the system, feed them back through the proper channels, there's a better chance of them able to solve it. So I think I would say one of the great successes of kind of the comms bit of it is just creating a presence and trying to get above the noise. And every now and again, like, don't get me wrong, there's some weeks where I think, is anyone out there? Hello? You know, we're putting out important info. But then there'll be other weeks where something does catch on and it gets a lot of shares and it gets in people's feed. Our Facebook at the moment gets maybe 100,000 views.
Wow.
A month. It fluctuates. Sometimes it goes higher, sometimes it goes... But that's still...
That's a huge number of people you're reaching,
That's
isn't
a good impact,
Fantastic.
Which we didn't have before this project. And we did it. This was my kind of brainchild at the start of it all, where I wanted to make it wider than the project. So I wanted to make it more about health and well-being, because we're always talking about general practice and things like that. But actually, there's a big part of it that's about being healthier to yourself and pulling in a lot of the leisure centres are doing a lot of great work, community work. And it's not even just health, it's about well-being with connecting people together. They'll have events where people can be social, like maybe more isolated people or older people can go and make. So it's pushing all them and just being basically a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I've approached differently, because often with organisations you find they're putting things out, but what we try and do is react a lot to other people's things as well.
Okay.
And say, oh, that's really good.
Kind of mutual sort of support with each other. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, because I know how hard it is putting out messages to get any support. So if, say, the local leisure centre in Penrith or Carlisle or Workington or Whiteham, they're having an event, we'll try and promote it if we can. Fantastic. We can't promote everything, obviously. There's so many things going on, but we try and at least give it some thumbs and some hearts. And some
anyone out there with an event, just shout up. We're happy to.
Oh yeah, of course.
Happy to help.
But that's why we called the social media account My Health N Cumbria instead. It kind of gave it wasn't the same as the project. It wasn't another NHS organisation. It was, no, actually we're wider than that. Yeah. And we just want to support everyone locally.
Fantastic. It sounds, the more you talk about it, the more, I mean, I've seen it in the background grow and progress, but when you've kind of talked it through, it just feels so important, I think, at a time where actually a digital presence is without it, it's not enough anymore. I think even within the NHS, you need to have something out there to be able to promote some of the work that goes on.
And I think it goes to the whole thing of there's so much noise out there. Yeah. So to get the right things of actually what's going on, the reality out there is very important. And this is across all the NHS organisations to say, actually, you're reading lots of headlines. Don't forget, there's lots of clickbait and headlines, and they'll give you not the full story, but they'll give you just enough to be like, well, that's shocking, I'm going to rant about it, without actually clicking on the story.
Yeah, we know they exist, absolutely.
So we try and give you the full picture. It's maybe tougher to break through than it used to be, but it's still very important that it's in the mix. And hopefully people start realising, oh, that's a trustful source, or that's giving us the actual info. Yeah. It's keeping us updated on what's really going on in general practice. So it lets Robert and yourself and people have that proper candid conversation almost about, well, this is why we're doing this. And yes, we are very busy and we recognise what you're saying, but this is why we're doing that.
I mean, admittedly, I'm a little bit disappointed almost.
Go on.
Because, I mean, when I did say to the greatest project you've had all year, I was hoping the podcast would be up there as well.
So let's go Inception here, where we go. So this podcast obviously is part of the idea to keep us on the map as North Cumbria and talk about the innovation and the roles and all the great stuff going on in primary care. But the biggest challenge, which we always knew from the start of this, was going to be trying to find its audience. So if you're listening to this,
boom,
and you're in the primary care world and you're thinking, oh, this is good, don't forget to share it with people, because try to get these things to take off takes a while. And
absolutely, even within your own practices or otherwise. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so look, we've talked about the progress so far. It sounds fantastic. I'm really, really pleased with how it's progressed. What's next? Where are we heading with this? Because again, there will be a constant challenge, won't there, from the NHS, from colleagues to go, actually, resources are tight. Can we justify this at a time when things are really tight? What's the future, and where do we feel as though the project overall and the comms element of it is going to go, you think?
Well, the only constant is change, especially in the NHS. So we're about to go through some more changes. So to have a consistent voice throughout, I mean, I'm speaking from primary care now because that's obviously the land I'm working in. But to have that constant voice, especially if there's changes going on and there's fluctuations about where your care's may be coming from, where you need to go, and keeping that consistent voice. And then the other part of it, of course, is roles might change. Yeah. And a lot of it is still re-emphasizing, because even though we may have said this a few times before about triage and this is why we do it, if it's not consistently told to people, they just forget. But it's that myth busting, isn't it? And it's why I asked on the very first podcast we did with you and Robert, hang on, you've got two doctors in a room. The first perception of the public's going to be, hang on, what are you doing speaking in a room? You should be doing clinics. And you're saying, well, you can't do clinics 24/7. You need to also promote some of this other stuff. Yeah. So I think comms is that bit in the middle still. And people will probably never quite get it. Because it's a magical thing where people come in and say, can you comms this up for me? That's the sentence often you'll hear.
I might use that on you next time.
Yeah, can you just comms this up? And sometimes that's a tricky ask with what you're asking.
But it sounds as though that we should recognise this is an asset for us in primary care in North Cumbria, from what I'm hearing, Paul. So actually, those out there, listeners or beyond, anyone who feels as though actually they'll benefit from either contributing towards the comms, or if they've got a particular story that they're keen to get supported, it's very reasonable for them to just shout up and we can see what we can do with
Of course.
support.
And I think it's very much the Jerry Maguire help me, help you thing. You knew I was going to throw in some movie references eventually, sure.
Wouldn't be a podcast.
Right, exactly.
The other point about it is reliable. It's from somewhere that you know you're going to get solid information, because there's a huge amount of misinformation out there as well.
And it takes a while to build that trust. It does take a while to build that trust with an audience. Fine. And to get through to the audience and past the algorithm gets trickier all the time, because the more AI's running it, the more they're feeding you what you want to see, not necessarily what you need to see. So we might be giving a very important message about GPs and how they're working, or there's changes in primary care coming because of government shifts and whatever. But your algorithm's feeding you, well, in my case, Taylor Swift probably, But you get what I mean. It's really hard. So it's about trying to keep that constant message in the mix somewhere.
Perfect.
And then hopefully, if we're doing something right, people then start to seek you out or ask you the questions and help us help you in the sense of which the practices have got better at doing. So one of the things we do is we put out at least weekly all the jobs that are going on in North Cumbria.
Oh, yeah. Okay, brilliant.
And we put a big list of them out. Yeah. And it's quite good, because sometimes someone
contribute. Anyone got a vacancy? Pile it in.
Sometimes they'll come on the practice and they'll say, "What about us out here?" Yeah, and it's oh well, I missed that one, or it didn't come in the feed because it's not on NHS jobs; it's on something else. And then we can put it on there, get it out there, and add it on. So there's lots of elements to it, and it's all about trying to keep that message down the middle consistent.
Would it be fair? Would it be fair, Paul, if anyone's got interest in learning more, have a check out the website, but equally have a conversation?
Yeah, of course. So the website, do we still say that?
I mean, you can if you want.
www.primarycarenorthcumbria.co.uk.
Fantastic.
And you'll find on there stuff like this podcast.
Brilliant. Fantastic. You know the drill by now, don't you? Should we pivot?
Go on, pivot it.
Pivot.
Have we got time? Are we in the 20 minutes?
I think we're running over. We're running late. We're running a bit late.
Fine.
Yeah. So that same question we ask other guests, I'll ask you as well. What's one thing you change, one thing you would want to see happen in the NHS to help you further?
I think it would be the organisations doing a bit of what I'm trying to do by supporting each other a bit more, especially on the digital streams.
Yeah.
Because likes and hearts and comments and all these things help stay in people's feeds.
So just participate almost.
Yeah, and almost create this online community where we are working as a bigger health and care team. And try to give more likes to some of these maybe smaller things or these new organizations in the community who are starting up, or even things like the Pears Medical School.
Yeah.
Because that's something that Cumbria has been after a long, long time.
Absolutely,
We've finally got it, and it's saying to the public, but also the organizations, don't forget to like it. Don't forget to comment and say, this is great.
That's really interesting. I honestly thought you were going to say, I'd like a bigger camera or a bigger website. But actually, all you want is actual contribution and participation in the message. And I think costs time. Yeah, I'll give you that. But actually, it's something very, very reasonable. So look, if you're listening to this podcast, check out the website, check out the social media streams.
Yeah, My Health End Cumbria we're under. But even if it's not us, just anything local that's trying to do healthy stuff, give that some likes, give it some support. Cause
there's a lot of love to be given out there.
Yeah, it's to help it get it in streams. And I think, as much as bigger cameras, cooler tech and all that can make things look cooler, if people still aren't giving it a bit of likes, the AI is going to throw it in the algorithms.
Damn AI, honestly. Paul, what can I say? I've had a chance of working really closely with you over the last few years, and I love your passion, your absolute drive. Although you may well say, well, actually, where's his contribution if he's not a clinician? I absolutely urge you to look at the website, look at all of the hard work that's gone on in the background of trying to support primary care. And I, for me, would like to thank you. I think it's been fantastic to see the project develop, your support of it, your passion. And I honestly look forward to seeing which way it goes next. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks so much. Until next time.